Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. There's concerns over the employee payment system at Windsor Regional Hospital. It's been shut down since the ransomware attacks began. Plus, some Windsor councillors say the city's push to build bike lanes is slow moving. That's part of a new report assessing the progress on the city's transportation master plan. And after losing years' worth of footage in the Beirut explosion, a Windsor man is taking another shot at filmmaking. His short movie debut happening tonight at WIF. Payroll disruptions and compromised employee information. That's what hospitals in southwestern Ontario continue to deal with. It's the result of an ongoing ransomware attack, according to internal memos sent to staff and obtained by CBC News. It's now been 10 days since the online attack disrupted care and forced hospital systems in Windsor, Essex, Chatham, Kent, and Sarnia offline. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa continues to follow this story for us, and she joins me now live with more. Jen, what do we know about how employees are being impacted by this cyber attack?
Yeah, today, Meg, we learned that employees at Windsor Regional Hospital will likely encounter issues with their upcoming pay. In a memo obtained by CBC News and sent to staff earlier this week, the hospital tells employees that the payroll system has been down since the ransomware attack took place on October 23rd. It says that employees will be paid tomorrow, but that the payroll department is manually doing this process, so it's likely that the pay employees receive will not be fully accurate. The hospital continues to say that any minor pay errors will be corrected once their system is restored. And then in a separate memo, this one sent out by all the hospitals and Transform, the hospital's IT provider, it says that employee information was likely compromised. The organizations say they don't know what information was taken or how many people are impacted, but that those affected will be directly contacted. Because of this, staff are being offered a free credit monitoring and identity theft protection. The memo says that staff are encouraged to take this as it can identify any potential fraudulent activity. The memo continues to say, we understand the impact this incident is having on you all and deeply apologize for the inconvenience this has caused.
Jen, what are the unions saying about this?
Hospital unions are not commenting a lot today. I did reach out to the Ontario Nurses Association, but it says it can't talk about this and that the statement it released Friday still stands, but that didn't address any of the payroll issues or the employee data breach. The statement did say that there was no evidence of patient treatments or medications being impacted, but we know that since then, Windsor Regional Hospital has said some cancer patients are being treated outside the region. We also know from patients that appointments have been canceled. I've also reached out to OPSU, but they were not able to comment today. Windsor Regional Hospital did not respond to a request for comment, neither did the other hospitals in our region, as well as in Chatham and Sarnia. I did hear from spokesperson Hannah Jensen at the Minister of Health's office. In an emailed statement today, she said that the Ministry of Health is aware of an ongoing OPP investigation and that Transform is doing its own investigation. She says the findings of these will inform the ministry's next steps. She also added that hospitals are independent corporations responsible for their own day-to-day operations, including the delivery of care, and that usually with cases like these, Ontario Health provides guidance to the affected sites and will monitor to identify any threats to the rest of the health system. Ontario Health wasn't able to provide a comment today.
Well, thanks so much for that, Jen. That is the CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live. The City of Windsor wants to see more people get around without a vehicle. Its long-term goal is to have 1 in every 4 trips someone takes around Windsor to be on bus, foot, or bike. It's part of the Active Transportation Master Plan, but a new report shows Council has missed some quick wins, and there's worry the city is behind on its goals. The CBC's Chris Ensing reports.
Here on Hawthorne Drive, there are cycle tracks. They're just behind me here, and they connect to Lausanne Parkway. Combined, they add up to just over a kilometer of biking infrastructure that was added in 2022, and that makes up half of what was built in the city of Windsor that year.
Right now, there's 50 kilometers of bike lanes in the city.
Council is following an active transportation master plan, or an ATMP, that calls for major upgrades to Windsor's bike lanes. The latest update from city staff has left some frustrated.
The ATMP identifies the need for 69 kilometers of on-road bike lanes as a high priority, 43 more medium priority, and yet from 2020 to 2022, the city added less than 4 kilometers of painted on-road bike lanes.
Lori Newton runs Bike Windsor Essex. She says council has missed quick wins outlined in the report. Pilot projects that should have been finished by 2022 include family-friendly bike lanes that everyone can use in the city's downtown, temporary protected bike lanes along University Avenue West, and a rideshare program for bikes. Council hit that goal with the Bird program in 2021, but there are no connected bike lanes downtown. And while council previously gave the protected bike lanes along University the green light, during the last budget process, they voted against funding it, so the project stopped.
In making that decision, you have failed every student who needs safe passage on that road today.
The report did not detail how the city is doing with short-term or long-term goals. That will come out next year.
At a high level, though, I think it'd be fair to say maybe we're not exactly where the master plan would contemplate us to be at this point, with perhaps the opportunity for us to catch up with some projects that I think are in the queue.
Staff say those projects are exiting the design phase and moving into construction. That includes a project along Kildare Road and connections to existing bike routes in the city. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Ontario's Special Investigations Unit has cleared an OPP officer after a man tried to take her gun and was injured in the process. This all happened on Notre Dame Street back in Lakeshore on July 3rd. Officers were called to that area after a driver left a moving vehicle before it hit a building. More calls came in about a man on West Bell River Road with what was believed to be a rifle. The investigation revealed he approached an officer's open cruiser window, jabbed at them with a screwdriver, and managed to take the officer's weapon. The man later dropped the weapon, found a knife, and cut himself multiple times, causing serious injury. The accused is facing as many as 18 charges, but the SIU found no reason to believe the officer committed a criminal offense during the incident. The SIU investigates any time there's a serious injury, death, or allegations of sexual assault involving police. The most expensive farmland in all of Canada can be found right here in southwestern Ontario, and analysts say it could hit new record values. That's according to the Agriculture Division at Valco Consultants in London. Farmland across Ontario is set to hit an average price of $30,000 an acre, doubling its value in a little over a decade. That's due to tight inventory and high commodity prices driven by global instability and historically low interest rates. Valco Consultants found farms that once went for an average of $15,000 an acre a decade ago and are now valued at about $30,000. The first group of foreign passport holders has crossed from Gaza into Egypt. It was part of a deal mediated by Qatar and reached between Israel, Egypt, and Hamas. Children were among more than 100 people who were let out of Gaza. Egypt allowed in some individuals with passports from other countries who have been trapped there since war began. A number of people were also brought to Egypt for medical treatment. Traffic also heading into Gaza with a limited amount of food and supplies. Meanwhile, the war between Hamas and Israel continues to rage as Israel attacked targets at a refugee camp in northern Gaza for a second day. Israel says it's going after Hamas commanders and infrastructure, but the attacks are apparently causing nearby buildings to collapse. The Hamas-run government says many people were killed and injured. It's been nearly 4 weeks since the Hamas attack on Israel. Over 1,400 people were killed and more than 200 taken hostage, according to the Israeli government. Today, families of those murdered or kidnapped on October 7th are speaking out. They're demanding more action from the Canadian government. Dale Minukduk has the story.
This is Tiferet Lapidot, and Tiferet was brutally murdered by Hamas.
She was our baby.
Siblings Galit Gorin and Harel Lapidot are in Toronto visiting from Israel. They say their niece was one of the many taken by Hamas from a music festival on October 7th.
Do you know the song, You Are My Sunshine? So that's Tiferet. Wherever she went, she had a beautiful glow.
11 days after they last heard from her, police identified her body, which her aunt says was missing an arm and leg. And gone with her for now, generations of song.
You probably know the song Good Night, Sleep Tight, and all your dreams come true. And we are used to this song that my grandma sang to us, my mother sang to us, and we sang to our children. But
We stopped.
nowadays, we stopped singing.
Gorin and Lapidot were joined by others impacted by the attack.
I'm Aaron Brodach. My brother's family was kidnapped from Kfar Aza and taken into Gaza. They're currently being held hostage by Hamas. His last text message that he got from his wife was they're coming in, and the phone went dead. And so we were sure they'd all been killed in the worst way possible.
Brodach says a neighbor saw his sister-in-law and 3 young children being taken away alive. Days later, Israeli soldiers went to clear the family's house and saw no signs of violence.
We want the world to do everything it can to bring them home. We're hoping that the Canadian government can lead the way in, their immediate release.
Nothing in my life prepared me for this.
Uri Ravitz is in Israel, where so many too are calling for the hostages' release. His 84-year-old mother, Alma, was taken from her home about 1 kilometer away from Gaza.
We got a picture after she disappeared. The day after, in Telegram, we can see her sitting on a motorcycle with 2 terrorists, Hamas terrorists.
Global Affairs says Canada is calling on Hamas to release the hostages and is working closely with the government of Israel on the issue. It also says at least 2 Canadians remain missing. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Lebanese filmmaker Rawad Kansoun was certain his career was over after his life work and 20 years of footage was destroyed in the Beirut explosion 3 years ago. More than 200 people were killed and half of the city damaged. About a year ago, Kansoun moved to Windsor, and tonight, a short film he directed makes its debut at the Windsor International Film Festival. I met with him today to talk about that tragic explosion and the film he describes as his rebirth.
It was the worst nightmare ever you could ever have in your life. It's something unbelievable. Half of the city destroyed. I almost lost everything. My archive, your life, your memories, people you know, everything. It was devastating.
I understand you also lost a lot of footage.
Yeah, everything. It's not only footage. It's way more than this. It's your life, your memories, everything. It's more losing yourself.
I don't sleep much.
The name of the film is Planted, directed by me, and it's about a man wandering the city, searching for himself. He's a happy husband. He has a good job, good friends, but he misses something very important. He misses himself. So he's searching for himself in the city.
When you moved here to Canada, did you think that you would, get back into it?
No way. I never thought that I will go back to do films. Never, because filmmaking is a hard profession. It's not easy to get in the loop, So I never thought that I will do films again.
So that being said, tonight is your premiere. How do you feel?
I'm so excited. We are all so excited, all the crew, me. It's happening. This is crazy for me. I consider this film exactly that the thing that brought me back to life, So Planted will always have something very different in my heart.
One day past Halloween, and I know for many, those pumpkins are still out and costumes still laying around the house. But for some, there's a hard pivot on November 1st to start getting ready for the most wonderful time of the year. We hit the streets today to find out if it's too early to start decorating for the holidays.
I would say after November 11th as well, I just respect towards all the people that fought for our country. And if you can't celebrate November 11th, then I just find it's not right.
For me, is November the 1st. Not before. November the 1st is good enough. As long as you take Remembrance Day and keep it special, there's nothing wrong with celebrating Christmas.
Our events are better like at the beginning of November. November is a nice month. And December, well, there's a lot of people get together. There's a lot of suppers, groups, they go out for supper. So it's busy at December. To me, December. It's Christmas all month.
Typically, I'd be starting like the day before Christmas Eve. Yeah, let's start getting the gifts ready and everything decorated. But I mean, obviously, in the business world, you have to operate a little differently. So we're making sure we have a good head start. Especially a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses, organizations are already preparing with their holiday parties. Some, surprisingly, are they're coming up in the next week or two. Holiday parties for their staff and their customers. And I think we have some booked here, and so we're making sure that to be able to accommodate them, we're making sure our plans are in place.
First day of November, and the weather didn't hold back. It was a cold one out there today. Coming up, Colette will tell us if this weather is sticking around. Well, November is certainly starting off on the cooler side, isn't it, Colette?
Yes, well, I mean, a little bit of a dip. Yeah, sure.
It was cold out there today.
I know, a high of 6. What?
Yes.
That's cool. I'm just
Well,
kidding. I know,
is.
it is chilly. Yes.
Well, and last night, I took this picture last night as I was leaving soccer. And, you know, it's always such a shock to see the first snowfall of the year, right? So I had to grab a picture. Although I am feeling kind of lucky because I know there are other places, even as close as Lambton County, that got a lot more snow than we did.
Yes, but I do like that photo, Pulitzer Prize right there. That is a nice looking image that you snapped. Yes, nobody blame me. I did mention we had that chance of seeing like a shower or a few wet flurries, and it was interesting because we did go through that at 10 o'clock. It was like showery, and then the airport was reporting a light snow into the next hour, and then we were kind of done with that. So it is a short-lived little cool snap here because we're going to find those temperatures going back up. But off to school tomorrow morning, 3 degrees, probably quite a bit of cloud cover to begin the day. And then in the afternoon, I think it'll become a bit more variable. So we'll get some sunshine mixing in with the clouds. That won't be the high for the day, close to it. But I've got this at around 3 o'clock and breezy conditions as the winds will be kicking up, and especially not just tomorrow afternoon, but into Friday. So your current readings, all right, yeah, they're a little bit on the cooler side here. The direction of the wind has been west to northwesterly. As it was stronger, it was certainly driving some of that lake effect snow. Winter weather travel advisories, you know, around Goderich towards London, over towards Burial for those folks who travel the 400. Also some bad conditions, but all of this is kind of breaking down. And then as the winds change direction, we get not from lake effect snow, but with some milder air pushing in, we get into a situation of seeing some lake effect showers. When I say seeing some, I'm not specifically talking about Windsor or even Chatham-Kent, but a little bit further east. That's what will develop off Lake Erie and probably pushing kind of over towards the Niagara region. This is the afternoon. You see what I mean about the clouds should break up a little bit, so improving sky conditions for the second half of the day. And then as we look ahead towards Friday, well, it's looking a little gloomier, a lot more cloud cover. So I've just put in some sunny breaks into my forecast for Friday. There are your winds, but watch as I roll this forward. That's tomorrow morning. Now we're going through tomorrow afternoon, and now we're into Friday morning and seeing some of these gusts over 50 kilometers an hour. Could see some gusts up closer even to 60 kilometers an hour. So be aware of that. Overnight low tonight down close to freezing, probably just above because of the change in the wind direction. That will help us a little bit, but 9 degrees tomorrow will be the high. Friday, it's 12. Yes, it's windy, but look at those temperatures. We're back to double digits. It was just a mirage. Oh, no, wait, you have the photo evidence. Never mind.
I do have the photo evidence, but I am glad to see some of those little bit warmer temperatures. Thanks so much for that, Colette.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Countries across the world are gathering to discuss the risks of artificial intelligence. We have that story coming up after the break. Representatives of more than 25 countries have gathered in the United Kingdom to address the risk posed by artificial intelligence. Abby Kwathason has more on developments at the AI Safety Summit outside London.
A global summit to regulate artificial intelligence collectively on an international level. That's the goal set out by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for his two-day event at Bletchley Park outside of London. This is where World War II codebreakers operated from, and this is where representatives from companies like Google, Microsoft, and Meta gathered with officials from dozens of countries, including Canada's Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, François-Philippe Champagne. 28 countries have now agreed to the Bletchley Declaration on International Action on Frontier AI. That's linked to the severe risks posed to public safety by highly capable AI models. These are mostly long-term risks, though, like bioterrorism or losing human control of an AI model altogether.
Imagine losing control of AI systems, so a kind of Terminator model of how the robots take over. There's a really low chance of that ever happening, but it's a risk that government wants to have on its horizons.
Some AI experts point out immediate threats are not being discussed at this summit.
You need to focus on all the different kinds of risks that AI is causing, and that includes all kinds of AI systems. That includes risks of misinformation and disinformation, of bias and replicating societal biases, of stereotyping, of impacts on jobs or employment. All of those are unfortunately off the table this summit, and we believe they should be on the table.
The U.S. just passed an executive order on AI safety measures a few days ago, and the European Union has moved forward too with regulation, including banning some systems. Sunak is being criticized for being behind the eight ball, but he's also facing backlash from within his own party for inviting representatives from China. He previously said AI sees no borders.
East and West are not really talking to one another about artificial intelligence and what those risks might be. So any conversation that brings the U.S. and China to the table to create a framework for beginning to share some information is a good thing.
Tomorrow, Sunak will meet with some representatives from like-minded countries and companies, and he'll have a chat that will be live-streamed with Elon Musk. Abby Kwathason, CBC News, London.
With Halloween also comes a lot of trash. Well, people in Tokyo are tackling that in a spirited way, dressing in samurai costumes and roaming the streets collecting leftover trash from Halloween celebrations. Dressed in hats and black and white tunics, they use special tongs to put litter into wicker baskets. These so-called trash-picking samurai are volunteers who formed a group in 2006. Since then, they have attracted many fans, including about 800,000 followers on TikTok. The group's goal is to raise awareness about trash accumulating on city streets. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.